I'm Mike Cormier. I've been a citizen of Augusta for 6 years.
My name is Toby Hoxie. I'm a longtime Maine resident. Grew up in Maine. Actually lived on Brentwood Street in Augusta in my younger days. Joined the Navy. I was a nuclear missile technician on submarines for approximately 9 years, and now I live in Maine again. In my master's program, I wrote a 50-page research paper on the dangers of cumulative effects of water fluoridation, and that's the purpose of this presentation. Is people didn't question it most of the time growing up. We didn't really start fluoridating water until the 60s, and so it was never really a question. It's just assumed, oh, it's good. You drink the fluoride, it goes onto your teeth with your saliva, it increases your bone strength of your teeth, and it's all good. But in the last year or two, some alarming studies have been reported by Harvard Med and some other big-name institutions, peer-reviewed stuff that we consider it important enough to try to educate the populace on some of the results of these studies. So thank you for allowing us the time to share some of this with you real quick.
Could I ask you where you live now?
I live in Hallowell right now.
Thanks.
How do I get this up on the big screen here?
Good thing I steal all this water. I never used to have water.
There you go.
There it is. Okay. All right.
All right, so this PowerPoint is about the cumulative effects of fluoride ingestion. What is fluoride? It is a fluorine compound. It's pale yellow gas that's has strong oxidant properties. It's considered highly toxic and corrosive.
All right, now, you hear fluoride, you think it's one thing. Fluoride is actually, it's its own element. Everything that you hear that comes from fluoro is from the element fluorine, which is actually one of the most powerful and destructive elements on the periodic table. It has a very unstable outer electron shell, so it bonds easily with other elements. So that's why you see, sodium fluoride is simply fluorine that combined with salts. There's hydrofluorosilicic acid. There's all kinds of different fluorine compounds. Because it's so unstable, it bonds easily with tons of different elements. So it is, if you look up on the MSDS sheets, it's toxic waste is what it is.
All right, the types of fluorine compounds in toothpaste and dental products is stannous fluoride, sodium monofluorophosphate, sodium fluoride. In city water fluoridation, we have sodium silicofluoride, hydrofluorosilicic acid, and sodium fluoride. And in medication, Prozac is mostly fluoride.
Yeah, and that's fluoxetine, which is 94.1% of a fluorine element. So those are some examples of what fluoride is found in. This is a bag of fluoride. Notice the toxic symbol on it. Now, we're not trying to scare you into, oh, this stuff's evil. I mean, in small doses in toothpaste, it actually strengthens your enamel on your teeth. I believe in fluoridation in toothpaste. But you look at even a thing of toothpaste, it says, danger, contact, poison control immediately if more than a pea-sized amount is swallowed. They don't want you drinking the stuff. It's okay as a topical surface. The way it interacts with your bone structure, it strengthens it. But you're supposed to spit it out. You don't just drink your toothpaste. Okay, so some adverse health effects. There's a bunch of references at the end of this PowerPoint, but basically some of the recent ones that came out, osteosarcoma, bone cancer, recent study from Harvard Medical School, and it was found that in young males ages like 10 to 14, there's increased risk of osteosarcoma for certain percentages of fluoride ingestion in the water supply. Enamel fluorosis, this is a mild discoloration of the teeth. A lot of people have it. I actually have a little bit on my teeth. I grew up in Farmingdale, and that was a fluoridated water system. My mom used to be really proud that, hey, the water's fluoridated. This is great, helping our teeth. Well, during the formative years of your teeth are forming. Fluoride actually gets in your system, and it damages the construction of your permanent teeth. So you'll see pitting, enamel discoloration. That's called dental fluorosis. It's not a healthy thing. It's because you drank too much fluoride growing up. That's the reason for that. It's different than putting toothpaste on your teeth. It's the formation of your teeth. Skeletal fluorosis, this is another big thing. This is where, just like your teeth had dental fluorosis, your bones, as they're forming, it's the same thing. Certain parts of your bones will become more dense, some will become weaker because of the interaction of the fluorine elements with the skeletal formation, and it causes some segments to be very strong, some segments to fracture easily because it actually weakens portions of your bone. So here's some examples of dental fluorosis. You can see a healthy teeth up on the left, normal, down bottom right. It starts to get a little grungy looking, you know. It's pretty nasty stuff, but that's the reality of the situation. And, you know, in Colorado back in the 50s, there was something called the Colorado brown stain because there's actually water runoff on the mountains would go into the city water, and it was natural fluoridation. It wasn't even, people weren't putting the stuff in, it just happened. They had a higher amount of fluoride in their public water systems. And so a lot of people, if you research the Colorado brown stain, people were getting damaged because of the natural fluoride, and they actually limit the amount of fluoride in Colorado, so that doesn't happen anymore.
All right, the effects on the brain. Fluoride accumulates in the hippocampus, a part of the brain involved with memory retention. And I did watch a documentary about the hippocampus and Alzheimer's disease on TV. And basically, the hippocampus is like the switchboard of your brain. It connects different regions together so you can have fluid thinking. Fluoride increases the risk of Alzheimer's disease because of the increased levels of free radicals in the brain. Damages neurons. Lowers the IQ level of children ages 8 to 13, but I believe all people would be affected.
Now, that was specifically taken from a study done in China. It was a 10-year study that concluded in 2003.
Go ahead and take
That's what that was. Comparing water fluoridated village to a non-water fluoridated village after 10 years. And that was the results of their study.
Affects the neurodevelopment of children. Fluoride readily crosses the placenta. Fluoride exposure to the developing brain, which is much more susceptible to injury caused by toxicants than a mature brain, may possibly lead to damage of a permanent nature. And I believe that's because of the brain-blood barrier. Basically, blood flows freely throughout a developing brain, whereas an adult brain has a barrier between what's in the blood and the brain itself. Low doses are harmful to babies. They're harmful to the thyroid gland, kidney patients, and people who have heavy water, which means that there's already a lot of minerals in their drinking water. Infant formula, when mixed with fluoridated water, delivers 100 to 200 times more fluoride than breast milk. Go ahead and take this one.
Okay, so this is just showing parts of the brain that are actually affected now. Now, the thing is about fluoride, you can't just drink it and then it goes out of your system. It doesn't all go onto your teeth and help you out, and you can do away with it. It's something that it's cumulative. So throughout your whole life, you're starting to accumulate this fluoride. It's kind of like heavy metal poisoning. It's hard to get rid of this stuff. So it accumulates, and one of the places it does is in this part of your brain, which is involved with memory retention, which is the hippocampus, near the amygdala. Oh, go ahead.
Basically, with my studies of the brain, limited from college, you basically have 3 different brains that are all connected. And that the one on top, basically those huge lobes, just store general information. They're like a hard drive. And then the part of the brain that's affected, the amygdala, the hippocampus, that's like a subconscious type of your brain, part of your brain. It's also a switchboard that connects different parts of your hard drive. And then that lower right portion, I don't believe I remember the name of that, but that affects blood pressure, the very basic stuff. That's a very primitive part of your brain. So this actually affects a very important part of the brain. Other adverse effects, it decreases aerobic metabolism, which basically means it speeds up the aging process, increases free radicals in the liver, kidney, and heart, and disrupts the endocrine system. Municipal drinking water is the largest contributor to fluoride ingestion. Infants and young children have 3 to 4 times greater exposure to fluoride ingestion than adults because of their body size.
It'd be like giving a shot of whiskey to a baby versus giving a shot of whiskey to an adult. Obviously, there's a huge difference because of the size.
The EPA standard of 4 milligrams per liter of fluoride in drinking water puts children at risk of developing severe enamel fluorosis. Approximately 200 Americans live in places where water fluoridation is over
200,000, isn't that, say 200,000?
Did I say 200 million or 200,000?
You said 200, I think.
I said, all right, whatever, I'm sorry. Is over 4 milligrams per liter.
We drank too much fluoridated water earlier, so we're a little fuzzy right now.
Fluoridated water levels of as little as 1 milligram per liter adversely affect the intelligence levels of children.
Now, the limit's 4 milligrams. Most cities keep their fluoride levels between 0.08 and 1.2 parts per million or milligrams per liter. So they keep it much lower than what the EPA says the limit is. But my argument is even a little bit harmful. Would you eat like two sandwiches in front of you? You got a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. This one has 1/10 of a tablespoon of toxic waste in it, or dog poop. And this one is good. Which one? I mean, obviously you'd want to eat the one without anything in it, right? So these are just random stats. They didn't actually study. The studies are now coming to light in the last year. You know, they just made up that number. 4 milligrams per liter is the limit. There's really no basis on why they came up with these numbers. But it's scary stuff. It's a hazardous substance. Let me take this one real quick. You know, this is pretty interesting. I was researching, when I wrote this paper in college, we could only use, APA formatted, peer-reviewed studies. We couldn't just make up stuff, find stuff off conspiracy websites, and it had to be peer-reviewed. I received an A+ on my paper. And one of the things I found going through JSTOR and some other online periodicals I was looking was the original Nazi Nuremberg trial testimony from someone who was in charge of he admitted to fluoridating the water in the death camps so that the prisoners would decrease their volition, is what he said, which makes you more docile, less able to fight back, and less likely to fight back. It made them like zombies. So to hear about the zombie apocalypse coming, this is the reason for it. No, just kind of a joke. It's a heavy subject. I try to keep it light, but this is bad stuff, and the Nazis were the first to do this, and America followed suit starting around the 1950s.
I would also compare it to a lobotomy. I don't know, I came up with that when I was thinking about this presentation. And what a lobotomy is you remove a specific lobe in the brain, and that causes the patient to be so incredibly calm and docile that they don't really do anything. Like, they're still a functioning human being, but nothing affects them emotionally.
It would be helpful to us, I think what you're asking us to do is to take the steps to ban fluoride, and it would be more helpful to us, I think, if we have the facts rather than
all the stuff that's
editorializing.
listed here, it's all sourced at the end of this presentation. I'd be more than happy to email this to anybody along with my paper. So we'll speed through this real quick. So 2002, 46 of the 50 largest cities contain fluoridated water. It started in the 50s. Maine's got 140 systems that maintain those levels that we talked about. Here's some facts and stats. So this is worldwide. You're looking at, actually it was banned in Europe recently, the last decade or two. Europe doesn't fluoridate. Canada, very minimal. Really Australia and the US are the ones that primarily still fluoridate because we're living in the Stone Ages. Okay, this compares tooth decay trends. From the left side of the graph, you have 1960 all the way to current times. This compares fluoridated water with non-fluoridated water countries. And if you look at the stats, some are lower than others, but generally everybody is converging into less dental issues and dental problems. It's not because of fluoride. It's because of advances in dental technology and people actually using toothpaste and toothbrushes, and really you see that fluoridating the water really does not have any effect on increasing, on helping out your teeth at all.
Can we point out specific countries? This dark red one is the United States, which was already low. And then a non-fluoridated community would be Finland, which was the blue line. It started out higher than us, but it's at actually a higher rate of decline than the United States. So there's no difference here between the fluoridated communities and the non-fluoridated. They're all in an more or less equal rate of decline.
Okay. So real quick, you just got the dark is fluoridated and the less dark is the less fluoridated. So Maine's heavily fluoridated. as well as most of the Midwest where we grow all our crops. Okay, here's just another comparative graph. You can see 2006, 1992, how it's been increasing over the years. They're trying to fluoridate the whole country. And the EPA is saying, hey, we probably shouldn't do this. So there's kind of an ongoing battle between the fluoride activists and the non-fluoride activists. And I'll let Mike take this one.
All right, these are the communities listed that have fluoridated water in the state of Maine. When I looked at this list, I did notice that Bill Brigio mentioned to me that Augusta became fluoridated in 1988, and this one lists as 1997, and this is according to maine.gov. I do believe Bill, but this is this list is a numerous amount of communities. Basically, any community above 6,000 population is fluoridated, give or take. I did grow up in the town of Gray, which is completely well water, so we're not on that list, along with the town of Raymond. But anything that's considered, any town that's considered a city has fluoridated water. And these slides right here are the references. Could you go back to the first one? So these are peer-reviewed journals, and Toby will go over them a little bit more.
I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. The information's out there. I have a paper that has about twice as many references as this does for my expanded paper that I wrote. And it's just, I wanted to share with you guys. I'm not advocating for you to do something now. I would like that to happen. I just think it's important enough for you guys to at least be exposed to this information. And if you want more, I'd be more than happy to hook you up with more info. Go to fluoridealert.org if you're more interested in some stuff going on. But I think it's important enough that warrants discussion and not blind acceptance of what the high-ups in the dental community are telling kids to take fluoride tablets when it's clear now, based on Harvard studies and other studies, that it decreases your IQ. It's highly destructive to organic matter, and it's you wonder why obesity and all this other types of diseases have started to steadily increase since the 50s and 60s when we started heavily fluoridating our water supply. This is directly correlated.
Thank you.
India has more scientists than America does. I mean, we're going down the pipes and we're killing our kids' brains. I'm already screwed. I was in the Navy. I've been vaccinated. I've all kinds of horrible things. I have a 7-year-old son now, and I don't want him to be exposed to something like this, and it's forced medication. Prozac is medication. Fluoride is medication. It's the same thing. We're forcefully medicating people. It's an unethical thing to do. That's my opinion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Toby. Thank you, Michael.
I just wanted to point out a couple things. To go into more detail about the thyroid problems. When thyroid is suppressed, it causes hypothyroidism, which is actually becoming quite common in this country. It's slowed down metabolism, uncontrolled symptoms of depression. So basically, even if you're not going through sad times in your life, you'll be having physical symptoms of depression. It can cause premature hair loss, weight gain. I hope that you guys have heard of it so you know what I'm talking about. And another thing, the federal government has admitted that fluoride can increase the risk of intestinal cancer. I don't have that specific study on me, but I believe it's because of how it interacts with your stomach acid.
Well, thank you. Very informative. Any questions from the Councilor Byron?
Thank you. Hey, guys. The only two liquids I drink, Poland water during the day and martinis at night. Am I okay?
Well, where's the martini coming from? What water?
No water. Well, it's a combination of vodka, gin, and a French wine.
Is it on ice? What about the melting ice cubes?
Oh, no, right in the freezer all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, like imported alcohol is good. Except for Canada's generally safe.
Yeah.
Except for non-fluoridated communities. That's why I like drinking Hallowell beer from the local cup. I know that's not fluoridated beer.
How about the Poland water that some of us...
Poland water, it's spring water. I would think no. I have to do the studies.
yeah.
The dangers with that is actually the bisphenol A that's leached into the bottle.
Follow up, how many communities have you made this presentation to so far?
This is the first.
This is the first?
I recently moved from Seattle area. last
Yeah.
year, so that's when I did the presentation for my master's program. So I just moved back home. So I'm starting to try to educate people here. Washington is generally more aware of this, and that's why you see lower fluoridation levels out there, but Maine is still very high, and I think it's something that people should know about.
Yeah.
Toby and Mike, are you asking the council to do anything in particular, because there's a fairly complicated and specific statute that deals with
Yeah, I am aware of that.
process for removing fluoride from a system that's already fluoridated. And in our particular case, we have surrounding communities that are
Yep.
part of the utility district. And so all communities must vote at the same time.
Yeah.
So
We,
you guys say you're connected to
Well, we have the Greater Augusta Utility District runs the water, so you have to have all the municipalities that are part of that district, and that includes Augusta,
Manchester,
Winthrop, would have to simultaneously vote on the issue, because we're all served by the same utility district. So is there something specific you are asking the council to do? Because I suspect if you are, and the council wants to pursue this further, they would want another side of the story. I mean,
I
so.
think if you warrant that it's important enough for, say, me.
Would you speak into the microphone so
Get a
folks
speaking
can hear
mic.
it, please? Thank
We're
you.
on we're on
I would
television.
say, yeah, if you think it's important enough for us to maybe give my presentation or spiel to some of the local water district people who control this, or anyone that's even opposite side of the fence that would be willing to listen to this, and you guys think it's important enough for your constituents based on what I showed you tonight, then I would say it warrants looking into. If you want me to go somewhere else to provide this presentation.
Councilor Rollins.
Same vein, maybe ask it a different way. What is your plan? You've come before us tonight. You've started an awareness quest with the city of Augusta. Is that the sum and total of your efforts here, or what is your plan to do with this information?
We plan on going around to different city councils throughout the state, and like I said, we started tonight, but we're trying to spread the information, and city council's the best place to start, in our opinion, because it's the people that make a lot of the decisions in the local. It's controlled at municipal level. I mean, I'd be all for a state ban, but I would prefer the subsidiarity model of solving things at the lowest level possible, and that's why I think it's more important to try to inform each individual town before we start working on state legislation.
Okay, well, thank you.
I actually do plan on getting this on the ballot, if humanly possible, for the 2013 general election. So I'm not necessarily stopping here, and we do plan on going to other communities. So you got probably the roughest presentation that we'll have.
Is there a general election?
Yeah.
Just to clarify for your sake, Mike.
Yeah.
According to the city attorney, a general election is a congressional election. So that would be November 2014.
14.
Wow.
And if I might ask, Toby, if I could have a copy of the presentation, if you could email that to me, I'll give you my business card.
Councilor Byron.
Yeah, just a thought, Mike and Toby, since we are a utility district, we have 3 or 4 partnership towns, it may be wise, depending upon the sense of this council, to gather you back with representatives from all of the GOD district to have a general presentation, because as the mayor has pointed out, legally, you have to get the municipal officials from all the participating towns or a petition started. So it seems to me, if you want to come back at some date with the other 3 or 4 towns here, so everybody can hear the presentation and ask questions.
I'm sorry.
Go
Can
ahead.
I just get a point of clarification about what towns are in the greater?
What is it, Manchester,
Augusta,
Winthrop?
Manchester, Winthrop, is Chelsea? No.
Your Honor, I think that this really starts with the trustees of the Greater Augusta Utilities District as
Good
a
point.
board. And I would expect that all the councils of the communities that are served by the Utilities District would look to the trustees of the Utilities District for some guidance. This is their responsibility. This is one of their primary responsibilities. It is their job to safely administer that program.
I'm sure the council would not take any action without hearing from the district, but who are the members, what towns are the members of what municipalities? Is it
I'm
Augusta?
certain that the town of Winthrop, at least the East Winthrop section of the town of Winthrop, that the town of Manchester, and that the city of Augusta are all served by the Greater Augusta Utility. I believe there are areas of the town of Chelsea that are served
Also
as well.
served. Okay. And if you wanted the specifics about that, which municipalities are covered by what we call GAUD, Greater Augusta Utility District, that is a separate entity that's legislatively chartered. It's not part of the city of Augusta.
Yeah.
It is a utility district that has its own legislative charter. You can go direct, and the director of that is Brian Tarbuck, and you can go directly to the district and get the specifics on the municipalities that are covered. I would anticipate that if the council were to do anything on this matter, it would want to hear back from GAUD, G-A-U-D, the utility district, because that's the district that's actually fluoridating the water and providing the water to the municipalities. So, Councilor Rollins.
Yep, following up, after you've explained to me what your plan is, I'm wondering as I listen to you, why am I not hearing anything from my community prior to you two gentlemen coming forward of either the dental or medical community? Is there no awareness in Maine anywhere in those two communities? And do you plan to address?
I can't answer that. There's an alarmingly low awareness here compared to Washington State. I'm like, hey, you guys heard about fluoride, talking to people? No, well, I thought it's great. It's like, oh boy.
Well, my recollection is that there was a fairly significant debate in the 60s and 70s and 80s when the vote was being taken as to whether to fluoridate the water, and there were opponents to it. There were people who...
didn't have the studies done. Like saying, just in the last year, now these 10-year-long studies are
Toby, you got to take that mic so people are
Got
watching
to
us.
talk into the mic.
when they first started, there was no evidence to say whether it was good or bad. Now we're just seeing the results of these 10, 20, 15-year studies that are finally coming to fruition. That's why we're seeing some of this information now. It's new information now, and people don't know. So people who were for water fluoridation, say 10 years ago, they may be now against it now that they read some of these new studies, especially the one recently by Harvard that says it lowers your IQ level. That just concluded in July of 2012, just a few months ago. So this is alarming stuff.
Councilor Byron.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm not easy to alarm, but this gives me pause. And I really do think that somebody ought to facilitate introducing these two folks to God at some point and see where that goes, because personally, I don't want to drop this at this point.
Okay.
I concur.
I'm sure we can introduce them to Mr. Tarbuck and get you the contact, but I would
That'd be great.
suspect, I would suggest that your first stop ought to be, if you're going to deal with this area of the state and the Greater Augusta Utility District, I would suggest that you communicate to the director of the utility district. And again, I'm not suggesting that your review of the studies is valid or not valid, but I think if we're going to go anywhere with this, we'd like to hear, what the position of the utility district is and how they view the studies. Because I suspect with all of these studies, as with all studies, there are different viewpoints and different interpretations of them. So
I fully agree with you.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So I will ask the city manager to provide you with the contact information of Mr. Tarbuck. And he's very knowledgeable, obviously, about what the utility district is doing, what their levels are, because they're the ones that are actually putting the fluoride into the water serving the district.
I'll include the contact information for the chair of the board.
Thank you. That's Ken Knight,
as
right?
well. And when you email me, Toby, I'll respond back with that, because I'll have your email.
Sounds like a plan. Hey, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Fluoridealert.org if you want some more info.